getting weird in here. Okay, so I've been doing a series of talks on the Satipatthana Sutta, and we're in the fourth foundation of mindfulness, and talking about the Eightfold Path. And so tonight I want to talk about right intention. And all action arises from an intention, and all intention arises from a motivation. So how we act in the world is based upon our perception of each situation in relation to a past event or a future outcome. There's always a reference point. I am here, I am doing this, I intend for this to happen, it was not my intention for this to happen. We create these stories, again, from a reference point, and then respond in reaction to the recognition of the event. So the thing occurs, and then our behavior is entirely based upon the prior events and the way that they happened. We create this story of how they happened, why they happened. But at the end of the day, these are all just thoughts. And so how we react to a stimuli in a given moment is based on how something occurred to us in the past and the feelings and emotions that evoked. It creates this moment in time that we cling to. We have these series of events, these stories that we make up about ourselves, and we tell ourselves about, oh, this happened to me, rather than the event just happening. We attach ownership to it. And so tonight I want to talk about what right intention is in regards to this. So what it is, what the Buddha said about it, and how we practice right intention. So right intention is really just the intention to act skillfully in the present moment. It's also known as right thought. So it's taking each occurrence as it comes rather than basing our response on past events. Each event is to be treated as a new event, with new information always coming in, because each moment is intrinsically unique. There is no moment like any other moment before it. They all arise dependently due to the events of the past, culminating into the present moment, over and over and over and over and over. Present moment, present moment, present moment, present moment. Each moment is unique in itself. Everything is always changing. There is no sense of permanence in this world. Ajahn Brahm said that right intention is the compass that guides our actions towards wisdom and liberation. And the Buddha talked about this too in the sutta. It's a Majjhima Nikaya 19. I can't remember the name of the sutta. I think it's two types of thought. And in this, the Buddha learned that by putting each thought into a category of skillful or unskillful, that wisdom arises from that clarity. So we are able to discern what is skillful, what is unskillful, just by observing things in the present moment as they are, as they truly are. And the Buddha explained that right intention is threefold. He said that there's the intention of renunciation, the intention of goodwill, and the intention of harmlessness. The three that are opposed to these three parallel kinds of wrong intention are the intention governed by desire, the intention governed by ill will, and the intention governed by harmlessness, or harmfulness, sorry. Not that one. Take that, reverse it. So renunciation, what is renunciation? Well, it's letting go of what is not skillful. So whether this is addictions, things we cling to, chasing after wealth or fame, acclaim, beating ourselves up, giving ourselves too much credit, letting go of all of that. It's renunciation. And in action, we can let go of ill speech, taking what's not freely given, not speaking ill of others, not speaking ill of ourselves, finding our voice, our true voice, what that is, what that even means to us. Not taking what's not freely given, not stealing, not taking people's time for granted. Time's the only thing that we have. which is funny because time is just a concept as well, and it doesn't exist because it's always just the present moment. Entropy exists, though. Make no doubt about that. Entropy exists. Time, not so much. Entropy, for sure. Again...
What are you saying? Sorry, what?
Entropy.
Entropy.
Entropy exists. Decay. Impermanence.
Okay.
Impermanence exists, but time, not so much. Time's just this fabricated construct that we have to try to make sense of reality in some tangible way. That we have this linear thinking. We can let go of unskillful thought. Every action arises intentionally from a motivation or a thought. Again, everything is a thought. We live in a conceptual world. So it's underneath this conceptual world that awakening lies, really. It's kind of hard to explain. We live in a world of labels. And when we start labeling things, we start othering things. We create this division of self and other by labeling things. When we cognize them, consciousness arises, and then we perceive things in such a way that we create a story about them. We do this with things in the world, we do this with ourselves. And so if we're talking about right thought, we're also talking about letting go of greed and hatred and delusion, the three fires, extinguishing the three fires. And that's nibbana, right? It's this cooling off, this reduction in reactivity to the way that things are. We're also talking about the three characteristics of existence. We're talking about anatta, or the impersonal nature of existence. Anicca, the impermanent nature of existence. Again, this entropy, this constant changing of the moment, this moment collapsing and arising and collapsing and arising over and over again. And dukkha, and it's because of this impermanent nature that we suffer, right? We cling to things that aren't going to last, whether it be ideas, fixed objects, things we hold dear. Nothing in this world is built to last. Everything is gonna fall apart eventually. There's this perception that we have this hope that things will last, and everything in the conditioned world is impermanent, right? So if our happiness is based in conditions, then our happiness is impermanent. But once we have this realization, this deep understanding of this impermanence, we can let go of that. We let go. There's a lot of letting go in this practice. There's a lot of renunciation. This is a practice of negation, so to speak. Again, we view time in this linear manner, and we create a narrative on that timeline, which gives us a sense of permanence. But there's no permanence to be found in the world, and there's no permanence to be found in the self either. Because the self itself is always changing. We're always being deconstructed and reconstructed physically. Our cells are always changing. Mentally, we're always changing. Our thoughts are always going from one thought to another thought to another thought. Even the thoughts of who we are is always changing. When the Buddha talked about reincarnation, he was talking about the lives that we've lived within this life. All of the different identities that we've created for ourselves. And we bounce from identity to identity to identity, being reborn and reborn and reborn and reborn. It's letting go of that identity. Letting go of the concept of you, the story of you. I know this sounds completely insane, but it's letting go of that story that awakening lies in. It's understanding that there's something beneath that. That we're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not the thoughts. Anything that we think we are, we're not, because that's just a thought. So we start deconstructing the conceptualized world, and we come to the understanding that true reality just lies in the present moment. Not in the story of the past, or what we think the future might be, because those are just thoughts. That's all just thoughts. The future being any certain type of way, that's a thought. It's a story we create. That the past was a certain way, that's a story too, and they're all just thoughts. But true reality lies in the present moment. And that's where mindfulness really comes in, right? Where we remember to come back. We're just remembering to come back. It's this clinging to this idea of a self, this fixed, permanent, abiding self, that creates the suffering. Because there's someone to suffer. But that person suffering is just a story. You are awake. You're already awake. In the present moment, you're always awake. You've all had moments of awakening. Have you ever done something that was really fun and you're like just really into it and you're like, oh, I kind of lost myself in that for a minute? It's because you were absorbed into it. You were knee deep in the present moment, just existing, just being, without the story of you attached to it. And so once the illusion of the self is dissolved, we negate this story of me. The way things are, that I'll be happy when. And we realize that they're all just stories. Stories we tell ourselves to try to make sense of reality. So we tear down this illusion of the self, and thereby tear down the illusion of separation from self and other. Because once we take away the label of being separate from the other, there is no separation. It's just the all and the none. All occurring at the same time. And from this place of non-separation, this place of like non-duality, kindness and compassion and joy and equanimity, the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes, they arise all on their own. There's no need to cultivate at that point because you would never harm yourself. You would always find joy for yourself, and there is no difference between self and other. So we have to practice this renunciation, this letting go. Letting go of the identity, letting go of our perceptions of the way things should or shouldn't be. Until we can come to this place where we can let these things go, we do work towards cultivating these qualities, towards cultivating kindness, towards cultivating compassion for others, towards taking joy in the joy of others. You know, the Dalai Lama said, if we only take joy in our own joy, then we're missing out on like 7 billion opportunities for joy. And I love that quote. That's so true, right? Like if we can take joy in the joy of others, how much freaking joy is that? And that's a lot of joy. And so once we dissolve this boundary of self and other, that joy just arises naturally because there is no separation. There is no difference between self and other. We're all just here having a human experience. And so this is why we work in what's skillful and unskillful. So we put things into these two categories of skillful and unskillful. We work to cultivate what is skillful. We work to get rid of and negate what is unskillful. Because the more we create these unskillful actions in the world, the more we keep adding to the story of us. Does that make sense? The more we have to look back on and say, oh, I did the thing. And the more we suffer over that. If there's no self to suffer, there's no suffering. So it's by just dissolving all these conceptions that we have about the self. Dissolving all these stories of us. Oh, I'm Justin and I'm from Pensacola. Oh yeah, that's true, but they're also just stories. And so once we see that we're just telling ourselves a story about who we are, you wake up. Because you're already awake. That's the rub. You're already awake. You just don't know. Anyway, that's right intention.